Aloha Earthlings, my name is Catherine and this is my YouTube channel, Sharing Earth. Decided to make a series of videos talking about how blank has changed my life. So how last week I did how veganism changed my life, this week is how yoga has changed my life, and every week I will be coming out with how something has changed my life. I wanted to make this video to talk about how yoga has changed my life because out of all the things that have come into my life and impacted me and affected me and helped me grow as a person, yoga is definitely the biggest thing. If not at least tied with the biggest thing, but I haven't decided how I'm going to talk about what that other thing that yoga is tied with. The first extremely major way that yoga has impacted my life is that it has given me a really healthy way to deal with my problems. So I used to cope with anything major happening in my life or even minuscule happening in my life, like breakups or deaths or a bad day or a hard day at work or something exciting that happens in my life, whatever. I just used to use drugs and alcohol to make me deal with life. It's how I coped with life, whether it was something exciting or if it was something bad. But especially if it was something bad, I would call up a friend and be like, hey, this thing happened, I don't want to deal with it, I'm just gonna go get really drunk, or I want to go do drugs and just forget about it, and these things will help me make me feel better, which even though temporarily I may have been feeling better, it really didn't make me feel better because I'd always feel really shitty the next day, or if it was a binge, I'd be feeling really shitty a week later or whatever. And it also just ended up stuffing everything down or pressing everything down and never actually dealing with what it is that was coming up. And so I started storing all of that stuff, all of that junk in my body somewhere because I wasn't taking the time to actually feel my feelings, process my feelings, allow myself to have the feelings, and then forgive, thank them, and move on. And so yoga has helped me so much with this because I know that if something is going on in my life, I have this tool. I have mantra, I have asana, I have pranayama. I have these tools that I have learned from the practice of yoga where I can just go and sit on my mat and take the time I need and move through a flow, whether it's challenging or it's simple, and just work into the areas of my body that are really feeling these feelings and just feel the feelings while I'm going through this flow. Or if I'm feeling really anxious or really upset, I have breath practices now that I can use to help get my mind feeling more stabilized. Or I have mantra if there's something going on in my life, and using the mantra to change the entire energy around the situation. And I'm just really, really grateful to this practice because I no longer need drugs and alcohol to make me feel better, to get through this life, because I have this really, really powerful thing in my life now. The second way that yoga has had a powerful effect in my life is I now have a way to deal with anxiety. Anxiety controlled my life since as far back as I can remember. I really just would get so anxious, like thinking so much about what was gonna go on in my day. And this started when I was a kid, and my dad tells me stories even when I was really, really little, like from stuff I can't really even remember, of how anxious I was about these things that I would talk about and being so worried all of the time. And that really affected me a lot as a teenager. I was just always so worried and so anxious, and I would have these really extreme panic attacks where I'd have panic attacks a few times a week, and I was just talking to a friend about this, like a hangover from my panic attacks because my adrenaline would be pumping so fast for such like a short burst of time, and I'd be completely drained for the rest of the day. And yoga gave me a way to not only when I would come into panic attacks, I had these breath practices that I could use, such as alternate nostril breathing or just really deep breathing. I'd be able to use these breath practices to have somewhere to put my focus on, where I wasn't so worried and focused externally, and I'd be able to get my breath back to a steady rhythm. But yoga has also helped me get my mind to stop racing. So there's a lot of focus on quieting the mind, and I've learned meditation and allowing not to get so attached to my thoughts, non-attachment. And this has been really, really helpful with my anxiety, and I'm really grateful for this because I really don't experience anxiety as much as I used to, and when I do experience it, I now have this really great tool to use to help me work through it and feel through it and not get carried away in it. The third way yoga has changed my life is I am way more flexible now. And this is not just physically flexible. I was actually born flexible. I think women are just actually really flexible, and then I was also in dance, and I cheerleaded, and I did gymnastics for a big portion of my life. So I've always been flexible, but I did get more flexible physically with yoga, but I've also just more flexible in my daily life, more flexible with going with the flow, that when things don't exactly go my way or they don't go as planned, I'm really able to center myself and look at it and be like, oh, okay, this thing is happening now, and it's really not that big of a deal, and I'm just gonna go with it, and everything's gonna be fine. I really love being able to do that. That's not to say I do that every single time, but I'm so much better at it now than I used to be before I had yoga as a practice in my life. I really feel like this has happened because, yes, I'm practicing asana, and it makes me more flexible, and what we're doing to our bodies physically is also having an impact on our bodies emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. But because in my personal practice there's a lot of focus on being here now, being present with this moment, and I think that's just a really major point in the practice of yoga. And because I've had a lot of practice in that over the last 5 years or so, I've been able to utilize that so much in my life and be more flexible, which just makes me a lot happier. It makes the people I'm around a lot happier, and that also helps with anxiety as well, just being able to get present with the moment. The fourth way yoga has been an amazing thing in my life. I'm really saying yoga, life, and practice a lot right now, and change and effect and impacted. I need more adjectives, but anyways, I'm a lot more stable now. So I kind of grew up in an unstable environment. My parents were divorced. I went back and forth a lot, and it was a little unstable for what was given to my parents and what was given to me. They did a really, really great job at keeping it pretty stable, but there was still a lot of instability. So yoga has kind of indirectly affected this level of stability in my life, where I decided to commit to yoga. At some point in my life, I was like, I'm gonna start practicing this thing, and I'm gonna go to class, and I'm gonna make it a point to meditate every day, and I'm gonna start focusing on my breath, and I'm gonna read books, and I'm gonna take a teacher training, and things like that. I really made a commitment, and I really, 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 really love asana. I just love it. I love the way I feel afterwards, and I really love all the other aspects to yoga as well. But asana is a really big part of my life, so I really started to throw myself into that, and through that I had to start learning to commit to this practice, and I was never very good at committing before, and so because I never really committed, I think this created a lot of instability in my life. And I learned a lot about commitment through this practice, which started to bring more stability into my life, because I was learning this thing, I was learning how to do this thing, and I had teachers that were keeping me accountable, and I had friends that were keeping me accountable, and I had myself finally keeping myself accountable. And I started to create more commitment in other areas of my life as well. And so I started being able to create more of a stable environment for myself. And because my environment was getting more stable due to me having more commitment in my life, being able to commit to a job, being able to commit to a partner, being able to commit to myself, being able to commit to this practice, and I was creating a stable foundation, it really helped my mental stability because things weren't always up in the air. I just didn't have all this extra stuff flying around all of the time. And so my level of mental stability has really increased since I started letting yoga be a thing in my life. The fifth way that yoga has changed my life is I'm a lot stronger now. And just like with the anxiety and just like with the stability and just like with the flexibility, I'm a lot stronger physically, but I'm also a lot stronger mentally, and that really goes hand in hand with the stability as well. And I love having a strong body. I've always felt really strong and I have a very strong personality, but knowing I'm strong, knowing that my arms are strong and my core is strong and my legs are strong, and knowing I can move things by myself, it's so empowering knowing that I have a very strong, capable body. I love knowing that, and I feel very empowered by that. So yoga has indirectly made me feel empowered too, or very directly actually. But I'm very strong mentally now. I'm very emotional still, and I'm very moody still, but there's more of a cycle that I can see better. But I know myself a lot better now, and I really attribute that to yoga, and I also attribute it to getting a little bit older as well. But because I just know myself better now, I feel a lot stronger as a person. I feel a lot stronger walking in my truth. I feel a lot stronger walking down my divine path and my journey and going through my process. And the sixth and the last way that I'm going to talk about right now, how yoga has changed my life, is that's how I met my husband. I went to a yoga class in Sarasota, Florida, where he was teaching at a yoga studio called Prana. I highly suggest checking it out if you're ever in Sarasota, Florida, which is a really beautiful place, so I highly suggest checking that place out as well. But I went to his class and I met him there, and I just knew, I didn't know I was gonna marry him or I was gonna date him or anything, but I knew I really wanted to hang out with him and spend time with him, and he felt the same way, and it was just a really beautiful thing the way it all played out. And yoga has been a huge part in our relationship and helping us grow and helping us increase or better our communication. It's helped us have a commitment to something outside of our relationship but with each other, which has been a really fun thing to do and sometimes challenging thing as well. It's helped us grow a lot closer with each other, and I'm just really grateful for this practice, because if I hadn't been practicing, I'm sure I still would have met him, but I'm not sure if it would have happened in the same way. And I really love our story, and I really love being with him. So these are some of the major ways that I have been impacted by such a beautiful practice. I highly suggest taking up yoga. I don't care what kind of yoga it is. I don't care if it's Zen meditation or if it's hot power yoga. As long as it's not Bikram yoga, don't take up Bikram yoga. But anything else, I really highly suggest. It's a really amazing thing, and there's so much more to it than the physical aspect. It really will improve your life. I can promise you that. I've never met somebody who has committed to this practice and not felt a major improvement in their life. Thank you so much for watching. I've really enjoyed having you here. If you haven't already, please remember to press the red subscribe button down below. I make videos every single week. I make a What I Eat Wednesday video that comes out every single Wednesday, and I at least have 1 or 2 other videos that come out the same week, and I'd really love for you to watch them. I'd really love to connect with you. If you have any questions or any comments, please leave them down below. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. My Instagram name is sharing_earth, and I will see you soon. Aloha.